For the office of the vice presidents, usually nobody really pays attention to it unless you've got a particular knucklehead in there. Dan Quayle was actually pretty well spoken, but he is probably remembered as one of the most doltish vice presidents we've ever had. And as it turns out, George W. Bush Sr. was one of our first verifiable deep state presidents.
Yes.
With his 1,000 Points of Light and New World Order speeches. So I think personally, and I thought this back in the day, that he put Dan Quayle in there so that nobody would shoot him.
You think so?
It is my personal belief. I have nothing to base this on at all, but I think Bush put Quayle in the VP spot so that he didn't get assassinated because.
So he was bullet repellent.
Yes, he was bullet repellent.
Well, it makes sense to me, I guess.
That's a personal belief. I have nothing to back this up. It's just this gut feeling.
Well, I trust gut feelings. I'm still alive, and many of my men are still alive because I was like,
dumb gut feelings.
Let's not do that.
I'm not going over there. That way's bad. Let's go this. That way's bad.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna hold.
I've seen that before. I wasn't the guy that it happened to, but we were out on a patrol one day, and the point man goes.
Yep.
Since 1789 and the election of George Washington, America's first president, 45 individuals have served as the chief executive of the United States. Grover Cleveland was elected for 2 non-consecutive terms, so he served as the 22nd, 24th presidents. We had to memorize all of this in school when we were kids. When Pop and I were kids, we had to memorize the presidents.
In civics.
Most kids today, yeah.
Civics, which they don't teach anymore, and that's why we have so many idiots falling for the bullshit.
Yes. Most kids today couldn't name the last 4 presidents.
They can't even name countries in Europe.
They certainly can't find anything on a map.
No.
It's horrifying.
Yeah.
It's really, really absolutely terrifying.
And these morons are going to be the upcoming, second and first lieutenants in the military.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
It was bad enough when we were in. We don't need these kids trying to figure out a map.
It's going to be.
I have GPS. No, you don't. Not for long.
Do you know how many times I've actually taken the map away from my lieutenant or commander? Like at least 24 times in my career. I'm like, all right, stop. All right, give me that map. Where do you think we are? We're here. All right, unfuck yourself. I've done that.
I think I told you the Sergeant Teeter and Lieutenant Beck story, didn't I? It was 98. Lieutenant Beck shows up with one of the new GPS devices, and we're doing a mounted land nav.
Oh, great.
And Lieutenant Beck's like, oh, boy, pushes his little buttons, and Sergeant Teeter walks over. Let me see. Teeter's like this huge monster from Texas. Oh, that's cool. Can I see that? Turns it over, pulls the batteries out the back, throws it off the mountain, hands it back to the lieutenant. Now where are we, sir? Just absolutely wicked. Rabbit hole.
But, but the thing is, with the generation we have, they're navigating this country just like that.
Yes.
They don't know where we came from. Mm-hmm. They don't know the direction this country was traveling on, and they're taking us off of a fucking cliff.
Yeah, it's very seriously true. And it's all very intentional. This is not
by
accident.
Onesie twosies, you can go oopsie or that's a mistake. This is one after the other for like the past 20 goddamn years.
Yeah. Once is a pattern, twice is a coincidence. Or I've got that upside down.
Once is a coincidence.
Twice is a pattern.
Or more.
Yeah. The unamended Constitution mandated that a president would serve for 4 years. Originally, it did not state if there was to be a limited number of terms to which they could be elected. However, President Washington set the precedent of only serving 2 terms, which was followed until November 5th, 1940, when Franklin Roosevelt, World War II, I wonder why he served 3 terms, was elected to a 3rd term. He would go on to win a 4th before dying in office. 22nd Amendment was passed soon afterward, limit presidents to only serving 2 terms or a total of 10 years, unless, of course, you're Barack Obama and you're just running everything behind the scenes in the Biden administration.
Now, I have to bring this up.
What?
Sergeant Meyer, friend of mine.
Yeah. I know of two.
He has brought to my attention about the Supreme Court cases that limit who can and who cannot serve as president or vice president. And Kamala Harris And Barack Obama did not meet that standard.
No, they don't.
And everyone who nominated those sons of bitches for those positions should be tried for treason. Strictly my opinion.
Kamala Harris wasn't nominated at all. She was just
Yeah.
put in.
She was installed.
Literally installed.
Just like the dictator-in-chief was.
Yep. Kamala Harris was installed. No, she is not an American citizen.
Yeah, I know.
Nope. Yeah, I don't know why we're tolerating this stuff. I don't know why. Maybe more people need to show up at City Hall and be angry about these things. So here's a list of all of the vice presidents. I'm not going to go through them all because that gets...
You're not sharing it.
Am I not sharing it? Yeah, I am.
Oh, you are?
Oh, it's up there.
Okay. All right.
It's right there.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Second guessing you.
I'm not sharing it with you.
All right. Fair enough.
Put your glasses on, Pop.
So all the way through all the vice presidents here, let's go to when shit gets interesting. Woodrow Wilson, the founding of the my brain won't say it now. Basically, the first moves in taking us off of the gold standard, getting us into World War II. 325,000 Americans dead in World War I, rather.
Wasn't William McKinley assassinated?
I believe William McKinley was, in fact, assassinated.
And then he had Theodore
Roosevelt was the next president.
Yep.
Then Taft. Then Wilson, who was president of World War I. That's when the Fed was created. That's what I was trying to think of, the Federal Reserve.
Yep.
That's when the Fed was created, and income tax and all of those other things there. That's when it started to get interesting. I need to look into who Thomas R. Marshall was. We all know that Calvin Coolidge would go on to become president, but I started noticing a little bit of a pattern after 1913 where vice presidents often found themselves in the presidency.
Correct.
Unless they fell from favor somehow. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president during the years before World War II, and up into the war itself, had three vice presidents: Garner, Henry Wallace, and Harry Truman. Harry Truman, of course, became the next president in 1945.
And let's be honest,
right
Truman,
at the end of the war.
Truman did not do that bad of a job, in my opinion. He did, in my opinion, I believe he acted with a fair degree of mercy. Now, granted, he dropped 2 nuclear bombs on Japan.
I was about to say,
but let's be honest.
Kind of.
If we did it, but the thing is, if we did a full invasion, we would have lost about 1 million of our people wounded, and probably 200,000 killed. And in Japan would have
already
way more people.
We had already obliterated their navy. Why did we just float off their coast and let nothing in?
Correct. That's what I would have done. I would have dropped all 6 nuclear warheads on them, and then barricaded them for a decade. But that's just me.
That's okay. That's fair.
I'm a savage bastard when it comes to doing war. I'm all about saving my guys, and I will put you guys, the enemy, in the dirt faster than you could wink.
There you go. Well, Dwight Eisenhower, the World War II general that everybody thought he was so great and everything, and then you go digging through his DA photos and discover that he was a mincing fairy.
Yep.
Eisenhower was the fairy who was in office from 53 to 61. Right when the State Department got its chops, the War Department was turned into the Department of Defense.
So hang on.
And the communists really started to get into office. This guy, Herbert Marcuse, that I talk about all the time.
But Eisenhower was the one that was getting blackmailed by the FBI guy.
That's entirely possible.
Yes. Well, he was using his butt tube incorrectly.
Yeah.
And back then, that was a big no.
That was a big no.
Yeah.
In that time. Anyway, mincing fairy. Sorry. Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ, was famous for saying, "I'll have those niggers voting Democrat for the next 100 years."
All right. Now, hang on.
Actual LBJ quote, YouTube. Don't ding us for something a man actually said.
All right. Let's not use the hard R word again. That's okay. For the rest of the
That's
show.
fair.
Gotcha.
That's fair. I will point out that it is an actual verified LBJ quote.
Now, let's be honest. I am going to use that word one more time, hypothetically, in my life. Okay. And the person that I say it to shortly thereafter will blow his last breath in my face. Hypothetically.
Story.
Pop coming out with his own proverbial penis pop slap.
Nice. Yeah. Anyway, LBJ really said that. That is a true story. That is verifiable. So I thought people should know that about the Democrat Party.
Well, first of all, the Democrat Party was famous for not allowing African Americans to serve in anything. And to be honest, I don't even think they actually had an African American in the Democrat Party actually serve in the federal government in any of, to what, the 1980s or something?
I think it was the 1970s.
1970s?
I believe
Yep.
it was.
I believe it was 1992 that the first African American senator.
Okay,
was
1992. Okay, we had black senators starting in the 1800s in the Republican
Douglas.
Party. Yeah, but somehow the Republicans have been labeled the racists here in this country.
It's just classic inversion. It's always been inversion. That's the way that it's always been. Then, of course, we get down around the really interesting time of 1969 to 1974 when you've got Nixon, who was forced to resign from office. As it turns out, the whole thing may not have been Nixon is as bad as he was made out to be, and Nixon was removed from office because he tried to uproot the deep state. There are tapes of him talking, saying things that if we say it on YouTube, we'll get dinged. Screw you, YouTube. Nobody likes you.
Algorithm dancing will begin.
Algorithm dancing will begin now. By the way, how was the funeral? Where do we send cards?
All right, first of all, let's be honest. I'm not happy anyone died. But I will say this. Karma is a straight up cold bitch.
Karma will run right over your dogma.
Yes, absolutely.
Without any mercy.
And I think that's what we saw.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that. Yep.
And I would like to see more. But, I'm not going to force karma to do anything because I'll get bad karma.
Karma's going to do what it's going to do. But there are some people out there who have it coming. So how was the funeral? Let us know. Anyway, after Milhouse Nixon was removed from office for what appears to be a bunch of chicanery that was going the other way, Spiro T. Agnew was the vice president. I'm going to get to him in a minute because he was sort of interesting. But then Ford replaced Nixon, and his vice president was Nelson Rockefeller.
Oh, shocker. All right, now, first of all...
That sounds to me like we're installing security this time so a Nixon can't happen.
Hang on. The Rockefellers have been involved in virtually every war, tragedy, or unfortunate event that has happened in this country since, I think, right after the Civil War.
You're going to get us deleted in real time.
I'm just saying. There's something about that.
Yeah.
And
let's
be honest. A lot of these people are the ones responsible for shaking the jar.
I didn't notice this before that right after Nixon, as soon as Ford was put into office as president, a Rockefeller was installed alongside of him. And that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Because Nixon was going to uproot the deep state. We've got a lot of evidence of that now. A lot of that stuff has come out now. And as soon as they get rid of Nixon, one of the Rockefellers is installed right there.
To make sure it doesn't happen.
Sounds like somebody got a little nervous with their security to me.
Yeah. And then we had, and now, in my opinion, I think everything started falling apart with Jimmy Carter.
Yes. He was the first puppet, I think. I think he was the first genuine.
And he's still alive.
Yeah. I don't know how.
He survived brain cancer and all kinds of stuff. And when he was the president, he was nothing more than a sock pup.
Yes.
Just like Biden.
Yeah. Somebody had a hand firmly up his backside.
Yes.
And God was his wife annoying.
Yep.
I don't know.
I have seen posts comparing Jimmy Carter, saying pretty shit president, but a pretty decent human being. Homes for humanity and all this.
Yeah, but I don't care. He was elected to run the presidency. I don't
care
at all.
That is right.
You had Walter Mondale as the vice president.
Yeah,
I've never heard anything good about that guy.
I don't recall enough about him actually to give any real serious information, but I agree with you. I don't recall hearing anything good about him at all. Of course, after Carter, we had Reagan with George Bush, the CIA director. Now, in retrospect, that makes a lot of sense too. Ronnie, we're going to let you be president, but you're going to have some oversight. Meet Mr. Bush.
Yep.
Mr. Bush was the Rockefeller replacement.
Now,
I
in my
think.
opinion, if you're the vice president, you should be like the senior NCO to the commander.
Yes, that is how I envision it as
Yeah,
well.
I mean that's how if I was the VP, that's exactly how I'd run it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, all right, you're the man. I'm just the dude. What do you want? And I'd make it happen.
I do that with the lawyers that I work for.
I would not like the current VP, who's now being primed for the penis pump of the presidency. She was the border czar, who's never been to the border.
She's not the board. She's not, no.
The media has been calling her the border czar since the very beginning.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden they're gaslighting and backtracking. And if you believe that shit, if you believe that, you have a negative IQ and you should be cleaning toilets in the retard house.
Yes. Absolutely. After Reagan, of course, we had George Bush the first, number 41, and then Clinton, then George Bush Jr., and then the closest we've come to having anything close to an actual president was Donald Trump, but it turns out that Mike Pence was Donald Trump's Rockefeller.
All right. Now, let's talk about Pence here.
Okay.
All right. Now, first of all, I agree.
I thought he was a really good guy in the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning, I did too.
him.
And I agree with his policy that he would never have a meeting alone with a woman or have a meal without his wife present.
Yeah, no, that's a sound policy.
Yeah, which I wholeheartedly agree with. Yeah, and
those are not mutually exclusive concepts.
Like, I would like to actually, if one day, have a sit down with President Trump and go through the thought process of picking Pence. I just can't see it.
Interesting.
I just can't see it.
That'd be very interesting. I believe personally, having worked for a general officer's staff, that Trump was subjected to the staff, if you will.
Yep.
A general officer makes very few decisions on his own. Okay. Most of them beyond what they're going to have for breakfast and one or two other little tiny details. Most of their decisions are based on the information given to them by their staff.
And I have briefed generals.
Mm-hmm.
You have 60 seconds to get his attention.
Yes.
And actually convince him that your shit's not fucked up, or he'll actually you're done and go on to the next guy.
Yes.
That's happened to me at least a half a dozen times.
Yep. Yeah. We had to brief the 8th Army commander a bunch of times. And that is exactly true. And all you have is that 60 seconds.
That's right.
And that is the genesis of the "I'm going to need you to shut the fuck up, sir" speech that Staff Sergeant Jay gave.
And I think a lot of these presidents since Carter were getting, basically staffed.
Yes.
I think all of the staff were totally corrupt.
What we know the White House staff is, we saw during our little excursion in 2020 and 2021, we saw a lot of reports coming out of the people who were working Sydney's detail, who were working Chamberlain's detail. That
you need to tell the audience what that is. They don't know.
Oh, well, we also had people on Sidney Powell.
Yep.
Alongside of Mike Flynn. Anyway, she had White House access, and when our detail took her there, the staff at the White House all of a sudden completely closed ranks and wouldn't let her or anybody else anywhere near Trump's office at all. What they were doing was isolating him. That's one of the worst parts of being a staff-driven leader.
Well, you got to also understand throughout history, they did the same thing with kings.
No, this goes all the way back to Thucydides and, I'm reading it right now, the Annals. Hang on. Just give me 1 second. 1 second.
The annals or the annals there?
Tacitus. Thucydides and Tacitus both talk about leaders, Roman dictators. A dictator wasn't a dictator like we think of it today. A dictator was a guy who was put in charge for a period of time to solve a problem, and then he stepped down. But the staff wraparound thing dates all the way back to that time. Thucydides is 200 BC.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a new phenomenon. I think it's part of human nature. Humans always want more power.
Mhm.
You find yourself in the inner circle. You want your piece of the pie.
Yes.
You're going to influence the decision maker in the direction you want him to go so you can make your piece of the pie bigger.
None of those staffs are elected. They're
Nope.
all bureaucrats.
Correct. And Trump, I think Trump screwed the pooch, and he picked corrupt, one-sided staff.
I think it merits a constitutional amendment that all staff at congressional and presidential level leave with that president.
Correct.
You're gone. You're out. All of your clearances are revoked. Everything. You're
Well,
gone.
typically, a lot of people who were earmarked to be staff or put in certain positions are removed when a new administrator or new president comes in.
But you've got this string from Bush 41. It probably started under Carter, to be honest.
Yes.
It probably started under Carter. But this particular string here from Bush 41 through Biden, those staff have remained in place that entire time. So Bush 41 probably removed any staff that Reagan had in there that were competent, replaced them with his own people, and then they've been there pretty much ever since, with rotations based on aging out and what have you.
An illness.
But
and
those
what have
people with the replacements would be carefully selected as well.
Yeah, so it's my opinion that all of the people at the top they need to get retired, removed, whatever verb or adjective you want to add to that, you can go ahead and do it.
Yep.
But we're getting to the point where we need to have a clean slate because the division in this country is getting to the point where it is going to turn into a violent row.
I don't think we have any options left on that front anymore. I think it will be contained. I think it will be localized. I think it will be urban in nature.
Wow.
But I think we're definitely going to see
some craziness,
some stupidity and freedom seeds.
Yes.
Now,
and listen, let me tell you, once they break the economy, this is how it works. The coffers of the country will run dry, but don't you worry, they'll be fed. But the price will be high, and it'll be paid with blood and lead.
Yeah.
I wrote that.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.